2026, Afrobeats is everywhere, from Lagos to London, from Accra to New York, from TikTok dances to sold-out stadiums. African music is no longer asking for attention. It is commanding it. But here's the twist. The music dominating the world today is not the same music Fela Kuti created in the 1970s. One is Afrobeat, the other is Afrobeats. And between those two names lies a story of colonialism, migration, rebellion, technology, piracy, street culture, and finally global domination. This is the evolution of Afrobeats. Long before streaming platforms and viral dance challenges, West African music was already changing. At the beginning of the 20th century, British colonial authorities brought European instruments, trumpets, pianos, drums, and brass arrangements to Nigeria through military and police bands. Nigerian musicians later adapted those instruments and blended them with local rhythms and percussion, helping create entirely new sounds. Then came another influence from the Atlantic. Sailors from Liberia and Sierra Leone introduced Portuguese guitars and coastal musical styles. In palm wine bars, musicians mixed local melodies with Caribbean calypso and folk rhythms. This became known as palm wine music. Palm wine music spread across West Africa and gradually evolved into high life, especially in Ghana, where musicians modernized it with guitars, horns, and danceable arrangements. By the mid-20th century, high life had become the dominant urban sound of Ghana and heavily influenced Nigerian music as well. This was the first important lesson in the Afrobeat story. West African music has never been isolated. It has always been a conversation between Africa, the Caribbean, Europe, and America. In the 1960s, a young Nigerian musician named Fela Anikulapo Kuti was searching for a sound. He had studied jazz. He played high life. But something was missing. After traveling to the United States, Fela encountered the Black Power movement, soul music, funk, jazz, and political activism. He returned to Africa determined to create music that spoke directly to African realities. What emerged was revolutionary. Fela fused high life jazz funk, soul reggae Yoruba rhythms calypso. The result was Afrobeat. But Afrobeat was more than music. It was a weapon. Songs like Zombie, Sorrow Tears, and Blood, and Coffin for Head of State attacked corruption, military rule, and oppression. Afrobeat songs were often 10, 15, even 20 minutes long. They relied on live bands, horns, percussion, and extended improvisation. And the message was usually political. This is the crucial distinction. Afrobeat is Fela's genre. Afrobeats is the modern genre that came later. They share a name, but they are not the same sound. By the 1990s, Nigerian music was struggling. MTV and cable television flooded the country with American hip-hop, R&B, reggae, and dancehall. Local artists were increasingly overshadowed by international stars, while poor studio infrastructure, weak labels, piracy, and low production quality made it difficult for Nigerian musicians to compete. At parties, people wanted Tupac, Biggie, Beanie Man, and dancehall. Many young Nigerians began to believe that foreign music simply sounded better. For a moment, it seemed like local music might lose the battle. But on the ground, a new generation was experimenting. They were not trying to sound exactly like Fela. They were mixing hip-hop R&B, dancehall, reggae, Fuji, local languages, street slang. A new sound was being born. It just didn't have a name yet. Around the late 1990s and early 2000s, technology changed everything. Computers became cheaper. Fruity Loops became accessible. Small neighborhood studios, sometimes just a laptop and a microphone, started appearing across Nigerian cities. The cost of music production collapsed, and thousands of young artists could suddenly record songs without needing a full live band. This was the democratization of Nigerian music. Groups like The Remedies, Plantation Boys, and P-Square began creating catchy, danceable records that blended digital beats with local flavor. Early anthems spread through parties, radio and word of mouth helping define the emerging sound. At the same time, Ghana was developing hip life, which fused hip hop with high life. Nigeria and Ghana were once again influencing each other, just as they had during the high life era. And slowly, the music began to sound less American and more African. Artists switched from polished English to Pidgin, Yoruba, Igbo, Twi, and street expressions. Local identity became a strength, not a weakness. Then came the breakthrough. To Baba's African Queen. The song crossed borders in a way few Nigerian records had before. It appeared in international films, won major awards, and proved that African music could travel globally. The document identifies it as one of the key records that brought international acclaim to the new sound. P-Square turned performance into spectacle. Asa brought soul and artistic depth. And behind the scenes, producers like OJB Jezreel, Kobam Sasuko, and Don Jazzy transformed the sound with cleaner production, memorable hooks, and modern arrangements. This was no longer underground street music. It was becoming an industry. The economics changed too. Because piracy destroyed CD sales, artists began relying on live performances, concerts, and events. Promoters, brands, telecom companies, and beverage sponsors entered the business, and music became a viable full-time career. While Nigeria was building the sound, the African diaspora in the United Kingdom gave it a global launchpad. Young Nigerians and Ghanaians carried their music into London clubs, university raves, and underground party scenes. There, it mixed with grime, garage, and Afro-Caribbean culture. This is where the term Afrobeats began to gain widespread use. Not in Fela's Lagos, but in the diaspora. DJs, radio hosts, and promoters needed a label for this new wave of West African dance music, and Afrobeats with an S became the umbrella term. By the early 2000s, UK radio, BBC interviews, and viral dance records helped establish the name internationally. Artists like Fuse ODG helped push the movement into the UK mainstream, while Nigerian stars such as Wizkid and D'banj rode the wave with records that connected African audiences and the diaspora simultaneously. By 2015, the world could no longer ignore Afrobeats. Streaming changed the rules. You no longer needed American radio to become global. A song could explode from Lagos, spread through London, and reach New York overnight. Wizkid's collaboration with Drake on One Dance became one of the biggest songs on the planet. Davido built an international touring machine. Burna Boy fused Afrobeats with dancehall, reggae, and Afrofusion, and eventually won a Grammy. Then came a new generation. Lema Thames, Fireboy DML, Ira Star, and Asake. These artists were not just exporting Nigerian music, they were shaping global pop culture. Today, Afrobeats fills arenas, dominates streaming charts, and influences artists across Latin music, R&B, hip-hop, and electronic music. What began in neighborhood studios is now a multi-billion-dollar cultural force. Just when people thought Afrobeats had reached its final form, it evolved again. South Africa's Amapiano entered the conversation. Log drums, deep bass, slow-burning grooves. Nigerian artists embraced it. The document notes that Afrobeats and Amapiano have increasingly merged, with artists such as Burna Boy and Davido collaborating across the two scenes and creating a new hybrid sound that resonates across Africa. Asake's music, for example, combines Fuji Street chants, Amapiano, Afrobeats, Yoruba percussion. The genre is still mutating in real time. Afrobeats is not a fixed sound. It is a moving target. So what exactly took over the world? Not just a beat, not just a genre, but a century of African musical evolution. From colonial breast bands, to palm wine guitars, to Ghanaian high life, to Fela's Afrobeat revolution, to Lagos street studios, to London rave culture, to streaming platforms and sold-out arenas. Afrobeats is the sound of Africa constantly reinventing itself. And maybe the most important part of this story is this. For decades, African musicians borrowed from the world. Today, the world is borrowing from Africa. The beat never really changed, it just got louder. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to Bull and Law and tell me in the comments which era of Afrobeats was the greatest: the Fela era, the Tuobaba era, the Wizkid era, or the new Isake and Rema era.